Okay, let's make sure this is on. Okay, let's do some homework. So complements, supplements, vertical angles. So the first two are the real focus, and this last one will be a nice bonus. Okay, so complements, remember, two angles that add to 90 degrees, which is a right angle. And supplements are two angles that add to 180 degrees, which are straight angles. One of these shows up much more often than the other, which are supplements. And so what the big issue seemed to be, because if I just gave you a number and said find the complement, you could do that with no trouble. But if I said pick a pair of supplementary angles from this mess here, and everyone is like, what? I don't know what to do. So let's look at what it means to actually use complementary and supplementary angles. So here we have two intersecting lines, and we can refer to these as A, B, and this one we can call X, Y, and in the middle can be E, so that's a good letter. Alright, so pick some supplementary angles here. So we want two angles that add up to 180 degrees, or straight angle, and a straight angle is just made by a straight line. So if we just identify a straight line, let's say we pick AB, this is our 180 degree angle. So all we need are two angles that add up to this straight line. So it's already here. We know what we're looking for. We just need two angles that make this up. So we look for something that splits this into two angles, and we happen to have this nice ray here going from E to Y, and it splits up our straight angle, which means if we take the angle on the left side of this, angle AEY, and we'll say that's supplementary to the other part of this whole thing. So if this is the whole thing, this is 180 degrees, right? This red part is some number, who cares what it is. And then to add to it to get to the full green angle, we just say, well, let's go purple. Let's say we need this part here. And this is made by this angle that's sitting in front of us. So it's not even that difficult. It's right there. So we'd say AEY and angle, let's say BEY, just to keep it alphabetical. We can say these two are supplements to each other, because when we put them together, and we get rid of this green stuff here, we can see how these two angles together, added up, make one straight line, made this green line, right? Right? It's right there. That's all it is. That's all a supplement is. Okay. Now, the best part about this now, okay, is this idea of vertical angles, which takes us one step further. So we said two angles that are supplementary add up to 180 degrees. And if it's 180 degrees, it makes a straight line. Right? So we can work backwards too. We say if it's a straight line, then it must be supplementary. And if it's supplementary, it makes a straight line. Okay? So what we have here is a different straight line going the other way. Instead of AB, we can talk about XY. And so if we look at it this way, we still have angle BEY. Angle BEY. And we can say, what is the supplement to this? And so if we're trying to complete this blue angle here, how can we finish that angle? We already have this little piece, so what we need is this big piece here to finish the rest. And that's sitting in front of us too. That's right here. That is angle BEX. Okay. And now, hopefully, through my clever color coordination here, get rid of this blue line too, you're able to draw some conclusions here. like if this angle, BEY, is supplementary to this angle and this angle, right? If BEY doesn't change because it hasn't gone anywhere, it's just a number, what has to be true about this right angle and this conveniently also colored red angle? Did I call this a label? I'd call it an angle. I don't know what I called it, but it's an angle. So how are these related? And if you said, well, they have to be exactly the same, you would be correct. Okay? And if you don't believe me, let's put in some numbers. Let's say, I don't know, this is 50 degrees. So if this angle and this purple angle are supplementary, we'd say, what does this have to be that if we add 50 to it, we'd get 180? And we'd say, well, that's 130. Okay, you'd be correct. And then if we looked on this line here, our blue line, what would this angle have to be that if we added 50 to it, we'd get 130? Or get to 180, which, giving away the answer, is 130. And we can go even further with this. We can say, if I know this angle, then what is my supplement to that, which would be this last angle here, this AEX. And if it's a straight line underneath, it would have to be 130 plus something is 180. And guess what? That also has to be 50 degrees. Okay? And that's what this vertical angle idea here is. That if you have two lines and they intersect each other, because that's what lines do, they intersect each other, the angles that they make, right? The angles that are opposite to each other will always be the same. And that's what vertical angles are. So 130, 130, they're vertical angles. AEY and BEX. We call them vertical angles. Okay? And the neat thing about this is anytime you have two intersecting lines, like we had all over here, that if you know one angle here, we know the angle opposite to it will always be congruent to that. Always. It's impossible for it not to be. And we also know that if this is our purple angle, that our purple and red angle here will now be supplementary. And then this red angle, its vertical angle here, would be down there. And so if we know just one of these values, we now know all four angles. Okay, so that's that. That's not so bad. Okay, so let's answer these now that we've spent all that time. We knocked out these first four. Two pairs of adjacent supplementary angles. Okay, so we just went over this. We find a straight line. We pick two angles that make that straight line. And that's it. So let's say VP. That's the line we care about. What two angles can we look at that make up this line VP? So I can say VXW. That's part of it. So I can say angle VXW. And then we need something else that goes with that. So let's even use the same color. Who cares? So we need to finish this angle. So we have this part, so I need this down here. So that's got to be VXP. And VXP. Okay. So something to notice. If they're adjacent, they're always going to share. Whoa, wait a minute. I wrote this down wrong. I'm sorry. That's not VXP, it's WXP. I don't know my letters. WXP. Okay. That they're always going to share two letters. I guess you can, to keep it simple idea here, like V, or still not a V, it's a W. WX is part of both of these angles. And the only thing that's different is the V and P part. And then you think, wait, where did V and P come from? Well, that's the line we were talking about. These two angles make up line VP. Okay, so let's do another one. So let's say I care about line UX. Maybe we call it line US or UW, who cares? Alright. And let's take a couple angles that make up this line. So I can look at these two above it, but I want to look at the ones underneath. So I want to take this angle down here. So that's US, let me call it N. I guess we can call it UST, but whatever. I'm going to go with USN. And then we need to finish this angle. So we got the big piece already. We just need this little tiny bit right here. And this is just going to be X over to S and back to N. So actually, let me clean this up a little bit and make this nicer for you. So this is the line we're working with. And if we look, our two angles, we put them together. You're always going to have this overlapping part. So that's the NS. And then it's just looking at what connects it. So in this case, it's NS. What's to the other side? X. And that's it. So you take a straight line, pick a couple angles that make that straight line, and write them down. And then you're done with the problem. Hooray. Okay. So then, we can do this one. I didn't assign it to you, but we can talk about it. Two pairs of obtuse vertical angles. So let's find an obtuse angle. Let's say, let's take the one we already looked at. VXW. This, I mean, it looks like it's more than 90, and at this point, that's good enough. So we can say VXW. And the vertical angle that goes with it is the angle on the opposite side, which would be SXN. And angle SXN. Alright, and then we need another one, so we find another obtuse angle somewhere in here. These are all looking kind of acute here, so let's say MSX. That looks pretty obtuse, greater than 90 degrees. So we take the angle opposite to that, and so it's just going to be US. Now let's go T. Oh my goodness. I'm trying to go quick and it's just slowing me down. Angle UST. And there you go. That answers that question. Alright, two pairs of complementary angles. I mean, if you can do supplementary angles, then complementary is not too bad. The only difference is that instead of looking for straight lines, we're looking for right angles. So we have this right angle here, but we can't use that one because it means complementary means two angles added together, which gives you that. But guess what? This is just one angle. It gives you 90 degrees. That's no good, right? But if this is 90 degrees, it means everything else connected to it is also 90 degrees, and you can go back and you can think about this and recognize why that's true. So let's take a look at this right angle here. So this is 90 degrees, and if we can find a way to split this into two different angles, like say there was a ray that just happened to do a little bit better than that job of cutting it into two pieces. Do we have that? Yes, it's right here. So we just label this angle and this angle, and we call them complementary because it makes a right angle. So we can say this is angle T and P and angle let's call it P and Y. Okay, that's not so bad. And then we can do the same thing on the other side. Again, we can use this right angle, but there's no complements here. It's just a lonely 90-degree angle. But on this corner here, it's happily split up by this ray over here. So what we have is one angle up top, one angle down below, and we're just going to write them both down. So we have angles, we call this Q and W, and the other side here would be U, Y, X. And I sort of messed up along the way here because nobody really cares, but if you want to do this as properly as possible, you would want to put these in alphabetical order, except for the middle middle letter, which has to be the vertex that makes the angle itself. Okay, so Q and W is a better way to write it than W and Q, although technically both are correct. Okay, so this knocks this out. These bottom ones, these are easy-ish. Find the complement of 23 degrees. You'd say, what's 90 minus 23? This complement always is 90 degrees. Second one, 163. What's its supplement? Supplement means 180, which means you'd have to do 180 minus 163. And then 67 is the complement to Q, and you realize that this and this pretty much go together, and then you're like, oh my goodness, I can't believe I wasted my time on that. Okay, 17. Use Docker to draw two supplementary angles, one of which is 45 degrees. Don't use a protractor. Okay, that's easy enough. So we need supplementary, which means we need one straight angle, which means we need a straight line. So there's that. Okay, so two angles we put are going to add up to 180 degrees. So I'm just going to figure out how to make a 45 degree angle, and that's like a lot easier than you think. If you take an angle we can draw on here, which is not that because my handwriting is poor. I can do better. Okay, if we draw an angle like this, this is 90 degrees. Okay, right? But if we were to split that angle into two even pieces by, I don't know, drawing a diagonal line, going like that, well, now you split this into two even pieces, which means both sides would have to be 45 degrees. Which means all we have to do, we take a point, we can put it anywhere on the line. Let's put it, I don't know, right here. And then we just make our ray going at this kind of angle here. Yeah, we can keep these going. We can label these, call it A, B, C, and E, because E is a good letter. So here's our two supplementary angles. We have this one over here, which we could call A, B, C. That's a C, not another angle sign. And on the opposite side, we have B, E, C. And that's it. That wasn't so bad. So, let's see. What do we want to do for extra credit? I don't know. Leave your suggestions for how to get extra credit in the comments section. Okay. Good night.